Hey everyone, welcome back to Pupcorn. So it has been a while since we've done a book review, and I finally finished another book. So here we are. I thought I would share my thoughts with you and ask for some of your thoughts and your opinions in return. But today we are going to be talking about Erin Morgenstern's Night Circus. Now, I was pretty excited about this book when I first received it from a friend. We have a kind of like a little book exchange where I'll send them some books, they send me some books, and that way we can kind of read things we wouldn't normally pick up on our own. So if you guys don't do that, I would recommend it. It's a really great way to find some new authors, new books, expand your horizons on things that you may not normally read. So you can find some of your favorite books that way. But for this book, unfortunately, it was not one of the books that I found my favorite book in. I think first and foremost, I definitely judge books by their covers. I think graphic artists work really hard on those covers, and I appreciate their work. So I definitely judge a book by how well its cover is put together. And I absolutely adore black and white and red together. So I really, really love the cover of this book. I've seen it for several years now in the bookstore and just haven't picked it up for whatever reason or another. And finally received it in my book trade, and here we are. I think that the cover is probably the best part about the book. Now, reason being, again, as you've learned from, any of the commentary you've listened to me in or from the other book review that I've done, I'm not a big romance fan. This is still a romance book. I think my friends are trying to tell me something. I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, I'm not a big romance reader. I don't find a lot of joy in it. I think it's corny and cheesy, and it's really an unsatisfying end for me. But starting out at the beginning, there are going to be spoilers in this video, so if you want to read the book and you haven't, I would recommend put this video in your save list and go read the book, then come back to it and let me know what you think. But for now, this is more of a spoiler review type video. So the book itself starts out, we're following Prospero and Celia. So Prospero is a stage magician and his 6-year-old daughter is Celia. So he's teaching her magic, so real magic. That's why he does really, really well in his career. People love him. He's a great magician because it's real magic. So, and then as they're communicating with each other in a part of the first chapter, we are introduced to another character, Alexander. Alexander is described as kind of forgettable. He wears a nondescript gray suit. He's nice enough, but other than that, he's really not all that memorable as a character for the reader or for the other characters in this story. Which I'm on board with that. If that's the intention, then absolutely. But you can't use that excuse for all the characters, because that's kind of how I feel about all the characters. They're pretty forgettable, to be honest. But Alexander and Prospero are old chums. They're rivals. They don't really get along. They have a lot of opposing opinions on magic and how to teach magic to their students. So they decide to have a competition. So this competition is basically between their students. That's it. That's all we get. We don't get any of the terms of this competition. We don't get any of the details. We know that there's a competition. I know the intention is so that we can feel the way that Celia is feeling, where she doesn't get any of the information. However, it doesn't come across that way. It almost comes across like the author didn't know what the terms were herself, so she's like, we're gonna make it a secret. I don't like that. I want to either be on Celia's side or be on the opponent's side, who later in the book we come to find out is a boy named Marco. I want to pick sides. I want to fight for someone. I want to feel something for one of these characters. And by not including any of the details of the competition, you kind of take that away from us as a reader. Now, the second part that I found really, really confusing about the book, especially the first time I tried to read it and I put it down and then I tried again, it's actually a non-linear book. So the timeline has been skewed. So chapter 1 takes place in 1846, something like that. And then the next chapter we're in 1902. And then 3 chapters past that we're back in 1897. So it really jumps around the dates and the timelines. I think that that's that works for a lot of different storytelling, like Pulp Fiction or something different. In this case, I just found it rather confusing, more than helping the story, because so much was left out in character development and setting and plot to begin with, that now we have to try and like put the puzzle pieces of time back together. It just doesn't work for me, personally. It might work for you, and if it does, let me know. But for me, I'm not a huge fan of non-linear books. I would much rather like cut this book up. I'm not going to, because it's not mine. But I would rather cut this book up, put it in order, and then read it again. The reason I don't like nonlinear books is because it's very difficult to follow a character and to become emotionally invested in that character when you read about them for 20 pages and then you don't see them again for 100 pages. Because not only is it nonlinear in time, but we're jumping from perspective of character to character. So even though we get to see through the eyes of the characters, we don't get to see them long enough to care about them. Now, there are a couple of character deaths in the book, and honestly, they're not all that memorable. They don't feel important. They're like, almost didn't care. Like, a character would die, and I'm just like, well, at least they don't have to suffer through the rest of the book. Like, it wasn't an emotional attachment. It wasn't like when Dumbledore dies, or, you know, something like that, where it's like you were sobbing because you were so attached to that character, and then they're taken away from you that it almost feels personal. This book didn't do that for me. I didn't feel attached to the characters at all. I didn't feel invested in their future. I didn't feel any emotion towards them. I was literally reading words on a page. It didn't immerse me in the story. Now, the place where I can see this book doing really well, Erin definitely has a way with describing the scenery that is beautiful. So essentially the circus that is the grounds for their competition is entirely black and white. There's no color at all. The costumes are black and white. The fire is black and white. The tents are black and white. Everything is devoid of color. I love that. I love that aesthetic. I love the idea, and also the fact that the circus runs from sunset to sun up. So it is literally a night circus. See what she did there? I love that aesthetic. I love the way that she describes the circus smelling like caramel, and it's like every time a character is eating, it's like caramel covered popcorn, caramel covered apples. So you can really get that sense that it does smell like that. Even the way she describes the different train cars that the circus folk are on. So the one smells like ginger and cream. I'm not a big fan of those scents. I would much rather have the idea of like her train car smelled like gingerbread, rather than just straight ginger. Like, I don't know if any of you have ever like picked up a piece, like a hunk of real ginger and just took a whiff, but your eyes will water. Like, it doesn't smell good. And throughout the story, like, that's something that character would be very cautious of, is like very sweet smelling things. So whether it was like ginger and cream and sugar, I could see that way more than just straight ginger and cream. But the auditory, like, to read ginger and cream gives a very pleasant emotion. So she did a really, really wonderful job of like describing everything, but like put some effort into your characters, because we don't care when they die. So I really, really love her descriptive manner, and I think that honestly, if it was more about the magic and more about the competition rather than the love story between the competitors, I would have loved it hands down. Because I do recommend the book, especially if you like magic and you like the circus and you like romance. It's wonderful. It really is. But if you're like me and you're just like, okay, that's cool, y'all like each other, but where's the magic? This one's not for you. Like I said, it has a lot of really beautifully descriptive words, but character development really, really fell flat for me. So what I want to know is what you guys think of it. If you've read this book, I really want to know how you think of it. If you love it, please enlighten me, because I think I might be missing something. This might be a book that I'll set aside, maybe pick it up in a few years and read it again to see if it's better. That's happened with a few books where it's like I remembered reading it as a child and then reading it as an adult, I had a completely different experience. So this might be one of those stories, but I really want to know why you love it. What about it sparks intrigue? Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to give the video a like and subscribe to join our Pupper Pack. And if you haven't already, join us on our Facebook group for a ton of fun memes, different content, news items, and some sneak peeks of what's coming up for Pupcorn. We have a lot in store for you guys. So thanks, and we'll catch you next time. Doodles!